Is there anything I need to know about you? So if you're sitting next to someone who stole your lunch money in second grade and you just can't coexist with that person, let me know. If you have a hard time seeing the room from where you're at, let me know. If you find me obnoxious and you can't be by me all the time, let me know. I might not switch your seat, but at least I'll know. But tell me about that kind of stuff. And like I said, I might rearrange some seats and things like that. So if you do the 3-ring binder check for Friday, you got 5 points. If you do the Google Classroom information sheet for Friday, those would be an additional 5 points. And it's not on there, but if you signed up for Remind, you would also have those 5 points. So that would be 15 points right off the bat. Okay. In your blue folder, and Max, you were asking about the accordion style notebook. You see that you have a course syllabus, which we'll kind of talk about. That's the gold thing. Then I gave you 5 pieces of paper that are paperclip. This is for your notebook. We do notebook checks a couple times throughout the course of the year. I broke them down into 5 categories. So you have weekly syllabus, weekly syllabi. You have vocab lists. You have handouts. The 4th one is going to be notes, journals, mostly notes. And then the last one are study guides. These would serve as dividers in your notebook. When you put this in your notebook, you're going to notice that the holes don't match up with a regular sheet of paper. If you were to take, like, say, for example, your vocab list, and you put it next to the divider sticks out a little bit. That's so you can locate it fairly easily. So if you went accordion style, as long as you had those things in there so that you knew what was what, I'm perfectly fine with that. So when you get your 3-ring binder, or whatever you're going to use, you want to put these pieces of paper in, and then the papers that you get, the handouts, would go into the appropriate place. So the weekly syllabus that you picked up as you enter is going to go in the weekly syllabi area. The vocab list that is also in your folder behind your dividers is going to go, obviously, in your vocab list area, and so on and so forth. So right now, you would have something that would go under weekly syllabi, syllabus that you just picked up. You would have one thing that would go under the vocab list number 1, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. And you would also have a handout. That would be the gold syllabus packet that you picked up. So as I pass things out to you, I'll let you know where I expect that those things would go. Tomorrow, we're going to start taking some notes. Notebook paper would be going, obviously, in here. If you need notebook paper, line paper, it is behind Jenna in the back of the room. You can get up and grab some. If you have a spiral notebook, you can certainly use that for your notebook paper. I don't have a problem with that. If you have it in a spiral notebook, you don't have to rip those things out. You can just keep it. Okay. Any questions about how that kind of set up? The goal is to keep you as organized as possible. When we do a notebook check, and we'll probably do our first one like October or November, I'll just give you a list of everything that should be in your notebook. So it'll have a breakdown of what vocab lists you should have, the weekly syllabi that you should have, the handouts that you should have. You get a point for each one of those things. So your first notebook check is probably going to have like 40-some things listed on it. That means that first notebook check will be worth 40-some points. 1 point for each thing. So if Austin keeps track of his 15 weekly syllabi, you got 15 points right there. Okay. Makes sense. So, assuming you're done signing up for Remind, phone would be away at this point since we don't need it for anything. Just keep it, stowed away. Food or drink, people always kind of ask about. If you have a drink, as long as there's a lid to it, I'm okay with it. So, Lexa, you got Dr. Pepper, 23 flavors, ingredients all rolled into one. She has her lid on it. She's okay. All right. Katie has a lid on hers. She's perfectly fine. Just don't come in with like your hot carafe of coffee that you're going to pour into your coffee cup all the time. I promise I'll keep mine away from you. I'll try to keep a lid on stuff.
It's like a thermos.
Just have some kind of cover, some kind of lid. All right. I don't expect that in your thermos you're going to take your cap off, get out your spoon, pour your alphabet soup, and start, doing that stuff. Okay. For your weekly syllabus here that you have, Obviously, yesterday did not have school, so we're looking at here a 4-day week. Running over basic things today, intro to the course so you know what's going on. Starting tomorrow and Thursday, we're going to do our first little note session where we'll take a look at some things here with figurative language. Friday is when you're going to get your first reading assignment, or we'll start going over it. We're going to be reading Oedipus Rex, which is a play. The first reading assignment, since it's a play, we do it in class, so you could be participating, reading parts, and all that kind of stuff. You can be one of the main characters. So tomorrow, make sure you have something that you're going to be able to write with, notebook, paper, we'll get started with, and do all those things. The vocab sheet that you have that was behind those notebook dividers, I'm going to collect this on Friday. So if at the top you need to write due Friday to remind yourself, you absolutely can do so. Make sure when you turn in that you do have a name for it. You signed up for Remind. I'll send a remind out to you probably on Thursday, some point after school. Don't forget to have your vocab list done. So by signing up for Remind, you give yourself 5 points, and you also give yourself a better chance of me reminding you of like tests, quizzes, homework assignments, and things like that. I'm not going to pester you over the weekend with reminds. I'm not going to send pictures of puppy dogs and kittens and all that kind of stuff. But if there's something you need to have for class, homework assignment, I want you to bring something with you, charged iPad or whatever the case may be. It gives me a way to contact you through that. Also, if you end up missing school for a couple of days, certainly I can send you an email. I can also send you a remind text. Is everything okay? Is there anything I need to know? And I can also get homework and assignments and whatnot out to you that way as well. So it's a good thing for you to utilize by signing up for it. Just make sure that we have communication that's going on. If you have a question, you can certainly text me through Remind. Don't text me during school. Hayden sends me something third period. I'm not going to respond since I have my own thing happening third period. And up to probably like 9:30, I would respond. Once 10 rolls around, I'm going to put the phone away so I can start, focusing on other stuff. But if you have a question about a vocab assignment or whatever the case is, you can always shoot that to me. Keep in mind with Remind, you don't see my number, I don't see your number, so you don't have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. For your assignment here, we do vocab kind of like on a 2-week cycle. 1 week, I pass out a list to you. We're going to do 12 lists total. I give you a week to complete it, so you would be writing definitions and sentences we'll talk about here in a second. I'm going to collect that from you on Friday. I'll give it back to you on Monday. If there's any words that I notice that people were struggling with, we go over them, and then we take a quiz to follow that Friday. So next Friday is when you'd be doing your vocab quiz. I'm not going to collect vocab lists from you this Friday and then also give you a quiz on that same day because that's not going to be fair. So we kind of go on a 2-week cycle, and then in 2 weeks I'll pass out another vocab list and we go through the whole thing. Vocab lists vary. The first 4 lists all tend to be Keystone based because you guys have Keystone tests this year. So it's going to be a lot of figurative language, literary term stuff. As we read other things, the words might kind of change based on what is that text that we're doing. Most of the time when you get a vocab list, it'll have part of speech on here as well. I didn't put that for these because they are all nouns. So it seemed kind of silly to put that there. So what I want you to do is write a definition, and then you would write a sentence. Some of you have different kinds of handwriting. So if any of you have really large handwriting, you could certainly do the definition right here. And then if you wanted to flip the page on the back and write a sentence on the back, I'm okay with that. Just draw an arrow so I know to turn the page over. Definitions, if you want to grab it from dictionary.com or something, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to make you crack open an old-style dictionary. What I don't want you to do is take the sentence that dictionary.com sometimes gives you and rewrite that sentence. I want you to try to come up with your own sentence. You get a half point for your definition, you get a half a point for the sentences. So if someone were to give me 10 definitions without any sentences, you'd be looking at a 5 out of 10. If you give me 10 definitions, 10 sentences, you make a mistake with one of the sentences where it just doesn't quite work, I'll let you know. But as long as it looks like you made an effort for it, I'm not going to take the point off for the sentence. Zach, no offense. If your first sentence goes, one of my vocab words is allegory, you are not getting any credit for that. Because I would expect that you'd be using it in a way that would show you know what's happening. For some of these, you could either use the word in a sentence. Anyone know off the top of their head what bias means? Ethan?
Skewed opinions over one side.
Yeah. News outlets tend to talk about bias. People will say CNN has a bias or Fox News has a bias. You could argue that the teacher is biased about cell phones or whatever in class and use it in a sentence. If you wanted to write an example of one of those as your sentence, I would be okay with that. So Zach, you don't go, analogy is one of my vocab words for the week, but you write an analogy yourself, I would accept that as using that term. So definitions and then complete sentence. I'm going to collect that from you on Friday, go over it, pass back Monday. Next Friday, we then take a 10-point quiz for those words, and then we just move on. Any questions about that? I don't know, compared to other English teachers, where I would necessarily fall, but we do a lot of points. We'll probably be over 1,000 points by the end of the semester. Homework I tend to give a fair amount of points for. I look at that as a positive thing, because if you do have a vocab quiz where things don't go well, or some kind of reading check quiz, you have plenty of points to back it up. If you do get in the habit of not turning in your homework, or it's half complete, that's going to really kind of affect things. So do make sure you stay on top of that kind of stuff. And again, if that becomes a problem, we should be having a conversation to figure out how we can get things better for you. If you ever get confused, you want to come see me and talk to me. How many of you are baby in the morning? So you guys come in like at the end of last period. Well, actually, you're here kind of for a couple days. Well, baby starts Thursday? Okay. For you folks, it's a little bit tougher because you don't have like a classic homeroom period. We would try to make something work during lunch or after school. So I just don't want, I go to Beatty, I'm not here in the morning, so I can't come and see you. I don't know what your schedules look like. I am free after this class, so if you have lunch, you could stick around for a couple minutes. We could go over stuff, or after school, we could certainly try to go over things. But we'll make it work. But I realize for you folks, it can be a little bit tougher because study also fit in your schedule and all that kind of stuff. All right. Any questions? So what do you need for Friday? Okay. Binder. And if kind of two things, if you didn't already do it, remind, and then your student info, your survey. I'll, in the grade book, start putting that stuff in tonight. So if you signed up for Remind or you do your student info survey, I'll put those points in today. If you come in with your binder, Zach, I'm not going to remember that you have it right now, but starting tomorrow, I'll check off. If you have your binder starting for tomorrow, it'll be okay. We still got about 10 minutes, so don't get all excited yet. Take a look here at we're going to take out the yellow syllabus and take a look at that. Ethan, do you have a question? No. Okay. I saw a hand come up. My mistake. All right. I'm not going to run through this thing line by line or anything, but we do need to kind of go over some basic things with it. It's English 10. The big thing with English 10 compared to English 9 is it's considered Keystone year. So that means come May, you folks will be taking Keystone exam. We'll do some things that will kind of help prepare you for it. It's a necessary evil that's kind of in the course, so we kind of do some assignments that will help you get ready for it. But at the same time, my big concern is making sure that you know how to use your brain, that you become a good thinker. And so us doing stuff with reading, writing, discussing will kind of help with that. But I'm more worried about you thinking as opposed to necessarily what a test score is going to say for you. All English 10 classes, basically, there's 4 main works that we take a look at. We do Oedipus Rex, which we'll start with, Greek play. We do Metamorphosis, which is about 60 pages long. We do Fahrenheit, which is closer to 200 pages. And then we do the last lecture, which is also about 200. It's a mix of fiction and nonfiction. We also do some short stories. We also do some poetry. And if it's something that we read, there's a good chance that you're going to be writing about it as well. Sometimes it's informal. Sometimes it's much more formal with the essay. You do get a large textbook. 9th grade, is it purple?
We didn't get a textbook.
You didn't get a textbook?
Well,
She kept them.
Okay.
Yeah, she kept them.
You had a class class set.
Yeah.
I have both. So when we get to the textbook for doing short stories, I'm going to give one to you to take home, so that you have a copy of it. But when it goes home, it stays home, and then I'll have a classroom set for you to use as well, so that we're not running the locker and all that kind of stuff for it. But it's not our bell. We're going to be 10 minutes later. You'll get used to it. But it's over behind where Ben and Jason, right where they're sitting. You'll see that textbook coming out to you. I'm not going to pass it out till we start using it, which will probably be like October or so. So there's no point in me passing something out that we're not going to use. Grading scale, same thing that would be in any kind of class. So you see down at the bottom, the A going through E. Obviously, we're hoping for the higher percentages. I don't weight grades, so everything is total points. So whether it's a 10-point homework assignment or a 10-point quiz, it's worth the same amount of points. So if Tyler doesn't turn in his vocab on Friday, but he does the quiz and gets a 10 out of 10, it's still a 50%. So you want to make sure that you take advantage of those easy points when you can, so that if you do run into a buzzsaw of a test or a quiz, you're able to take advantage of the points that you have in your bank. The three main rules that get you through this class, I put over on the sideboard and I put over here on the front board. Show up on time, be here. So when our bell rings, we're ready to go. We grab the stuff that you need, take a seat, and get ready. Work hard, do your best. Don't be good if you can be great. Don't settle for what's not your very best. And the third one, use common sense. To be honest, not because you're in 10th grade, this would be all students. That tends to be the hardest of the three. But just don't do anything stupid. So for example, we talk about cell phones. If you see the sign up, don't have your phone out, don't have your phone. If you need to use the hall pass, raise your hand, ask. If I tell you no, not yet, I'll let you go later, but don't make a big deal out of it and start, yelling about it and things like that. Okay? No selfies either while you're behind the
I was
board
just stretching.
with phone in hand. Use
Okay.
common sense. All right, so those things would be the things that you want to do. If you don't understand something or you are confused about something, make sure you let me know. Whether you want to ask the question in front of class or if you want to talk to me after class about it, that's okay. But make sure you touch base with something that you do not quite get. All right. Turning the page. Want to make sure you understand some things about grading procedures that we're doing, so there's not going to be confusion about it. Types of assignments that we're going to have: homework, quizzes, exams, essays, all of that kind of stuff, as well as projects and different kind of presentations. You get a variety of points. You want to look for a folder that has your name on it. You get a variety of different assignments. So as you work on things, again, it's total points. It's not that one is going to be more important than the other. Two of you can talk to me then after. Right? So make sure you're keeping up with all of those things. If it's a homework assignment, and your first homework assignment is for Friday, vocab list. If you don't have the vocab list for Friday, I'm not going to take it on Monday. So when it gets collected, that is the due date for it. Still not our bill yet. We go one more. If you show it to me on Monday, I'll take a look at it. I'll make sure you did it correctly, but it's still going in as missing 0 within the grade. So make sure that you have your stuff ready for when you need it. Hence, you signing up for Remind, me keeping digital copies of everything for you on Google Classroom. Thursday night rolls around, you know your vocab list is at school, you can print out an extra copy. If you need to email me a copy, because you have messy handwriting, or you forget about it, and you type up your vocab list and you email it to me, I'll accept that as being on time. So, Gia, correct? Gia forgets to do it, but you're able to complete it like before school, typing it, or you said about Katie using cell phone, you type it up on cell phone, you email it to me, I'll still be able to accept that because I know you've completed it.
I mean, like, if we send it to you on Monday before school starts.
Stay in seats, because
at like 6:20 in the morning or something.
if it is,
Or does it
our bell's at 10:14 or 11:14. If the assignment is due on Friday,
Okay.
I need it Friday. Hey, I'll still double check it, to make sure things look right, but I do need it for Friday. When it comes to bells, since lunch has started, there will be a bell that's going to ring at 11:04. We then have the dismiss lunch. Then it's going to ring at 11:07, I believe, to let them know they have 1 minute, and then it rings at 11:08. So there's 3 bells that'll ring before we actually leave, and then at 11:14 here, in about 3 or 4 minutes is when we'll be able to go. Okay, so we'll kind of get used to it. But yeah, the big thing with homework, you do want to make sure that you have it for when it is complete. If you are not here, so on Friday you are absent, and you give the homework to me on Monday, certainly that one I'll accept for credit. Okay? So if there is an absence, or you're not here the day the homework was assigned, and I'm collecting it the next day, you would certainly get some time. But again, that's kind of why all the remind and whatnot, I want to make sure is taken care of. Okay? Answer all your questions for that. When we get to be doing essays, you're going to turn them in to turnitin.com. Some of you may have used that in 9th grade. I don't know. You're not going to give me a paper copy of your essay. So this would be a little bit different about the emailing. If a paper is due and you don't have one due tomorrow, but say you had an essay due tomorrow, that you would have through the day to submit. So if you have a study hall 8th period or 9th period, you would still be able to work on it. As long as you submit your papers by like 11:59 p.m., they would be on time. You're not going to give me a physical paper copy because I don't want to deal with printers. You don't want to deal with printers because half the time they're not working. If internet access is something that is touch and go at home, that would be a thing to let me know about on your student information survey so that I know that's something that we need to work with, and then we would certainly be able to make it work. When you go to Google Classroom, and on that weekly syllabus that you picked up as you entered, there is the web address for classroom.google.com. When you go to Google Classroom, it's going to take you to what it calls the stream page. But when you then go to the very top of the page, I'll pull ours up. Initially, it's going to take you here. You go to classwork up here at the top. You click on classwork. Then right at the very top is where your student information survey is going to be, and you'll simply click on there.
So when are we gonna go over, like, how are we gonna get to Google Classroom if we don't have it? It's already.
I've already invited you.
Oh.
So where if I list people, you're not on there yet. I'll have to invite you. But if you go to Alexa's at the top, just because it begins with A. She goes to classroom.google.com. Period 5 English will be there. She'll just have to accept the invite. Try it the next couple days. If you're having problems with it, that's something then that we can take a look at Thursday, Friday, or whatever. But you should have an invite there. I think you would be the only one there who would not have access to it. Okay. Any questions? Notebooks? Start checking them in tomorrow. You're going to want to grab line paper, have a notebook with you tomorrow, because we're going to start doing some notes. I'm not going to lie, it's a little dry for the first couple of days as we get going, and then by next week, things will kind of start picking up a little bit. Your vocab, you have in your folder, so make sure you have that completed for Friday. Bill, Tyler, you guys, if you didn't, you want to grab a piece of paper that's over there by the pencil sharpener, and then I'll talk to you two about stuff that you missed. When the next bell rings, Austin, you can get up and run.
I wanna go home.
I don't think that's an option.
I think we should start off for Labor Day. Because like it's not night when we get out, it's not. Yeah, like when we get out of school, it's not right.
You'd rather get out later.
I'd rather get out later because it's like, because it's nicer when, like, if you get out in June, it's nicer. Well,
Either way, I'll be sad when
no, you won't.
Stop lying.
some know
Stop
happy
lying.
Randy.
You're probably gonna be like, oh, these students, they fly.
You say that now.
Why would I
just
dislike you?
You haven't met me yet.
So why would I dislike you?
I think everyone else has met me, and
So you're saying I'm gonna dislike you?
well, I don't know.
You're saying there's a
It's up to you. It's yours.
Tyler, why don't you come up here? I can start talk to you and Bill.
It's 11:14.
No. We're good. I'm guessing if you went to class. Stay here for a second. Okay. We'll go over some things and we'll send you down.
I'm ridiculous. You're gonna hate me and you're gonna like me.
It says my lunch is 10:34 now.
Yeah.
So I went there. So I think it's just 10:34.
Okay. I don't, well,
That's why.
what'll, and I'm not worried about it, because starting tomorrow, you'll know how it's gonna work, because the way these things are written is confusing. So, your lunch is from 11:18.
So
Sure. You go to lunch now. Yes, you go to lunch now. Lunch,
Yes,
back on the computer
thank
card.
you.
So you go 11:18, 11:48. After lunch, you're gonna go to Germany. You still have your schedule?
That's all it shows. That's why I went to lunch.
Yours looks confusing to me.
Yeah.
So I don't want to give you bad information. I bet you go to lunch right now. If you don't, I'll give you a pass here in a second. Just a couple quick things. I gave you guys folders just to house everything for now.
Yeah.
I want you to get a 3-ring binder. By